The last day of August 1994 was a hopeful and historic day in Northern Ireland. The country's main paramilitary group, the Irish Republican Army, announced a ceasefire in its long and bitter fight against supporters of British rule in Northern Ireland. The IRA promised a complete cessation of military activities.
A complete cessation of military operations means that there can be no going back.
Since 1921, Ireland was a house divided. That year, the southern Catholic counties won independence from Britain, while northern Protestant counties remained under British rule. Through the rest of the century, violence between the two sides escalated to the point of civil war. The ceasefire agreement raised hopes that peace was finally at hand. That week in the Irish Times newspaper, a poem appeared entitled Ceasefire.
A poem appearing in the Irish Times, as this poem did, is read by a huge percentage of the population. It struck a chord in many people's hearts.
Ceasefire was set at the close of an ancient conflict, the Trojan War, and ended with a haunting refrain. I get down on my knees and do what must be done, and kiss Achilles' hand, the killer of my son.
It's a poem about how bitter the aftermath of war is, and how peace is another name for war. And certainly nobody heals miraculously after that.
The poem was an instant classic and was frequently quoted as Ireland struggled to find a path towards peace.
Shall burn as I burn.
Poetry is powerful in Ireland. This harsh land, besieged by violence, poverty, and strife, has produced some of the world's most enduring lyric poets.
Poetry certainly is more a part of everyday life here. Whether you're in a middle-class drawing room in Ballsbridge or at the back end of a pub after a party late at night, the common culture is for people to do something, and quite often they sing. And quite often they will recite poems.
The Irish people have no fear of the poet. They don't fear that the poet is some exempt invention of educated or elite classes.
To read the poets of Ireland gives a sense of the core of that society.
The sense of what your calling means as a poet has always been strong in Ireland.
It's important to read Irish poetry just because it's delightful, because it's rich in the mouth, like biting into a good apple.